The cat eating kibble.
No TV. Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy, who's going to go run and shut his door. I have a feeling because we can hear the TV TV in the background. All right, here he comes. The one, the only, Bruce McCurdy. Welcome back, Bruce.
Hey, David. Back in the saddle. I was a bit worried there. I thought I'm home and they're going to lose the first game that I'm back involved in, but it all worked out well in the end. Now, didn't it?
Let's get this straight. That's not because you're superstitious.
No,
That's
no,
because you've been blamed in the past by fans. Like if
I
you
have.
so
I
tell me
have.
what happens, Bruce. What's
Well,
the
what
story?
happens is if you go in a little run where the team is winning sort of half their games, but you grade maybe 3 or 4 in a row where they lose, or especially where they stink, you got some wiseacre out there will say, the Oilers sure don't play well when Bruce does the grades. Maybe,
All
and
right.
then they think dark thoughts about me, right? I mean, I'm not on the ice. I got nothing to do with it. I'm just watching like everybody else.
Well, the reason I thought you were superstitious about it, Bruce, is that you actually keep track. Like you keep track
Well,
about
because I hear about it.
when I grade the games or when and when you actually have our winning win-loss record. Like to me, like
Yes.
what do we have? We have nothing to do with it. But
Well,
anyway,
no, the reason every 10 games in the 10 game segments, I do record the one loss record because I think when you see the average grades, it's often because of the outcomes of the game.
okay,
If
all right.
if you're given higher grades than me, but they won all your games and they lost all my games, well, that's why. It's not because I'm such a harsh grader. It's just
I see.
so. Anyway, tonight, 40th anniversary. I didn't hear much mention of it today, but 40th anniversary of Oilers' first ever NHL game, October 10th, 1979. Kevin Lowe got the first Edmonton goal, but they lost 4-2 against Chicago Blackhawks
I
in Chicago
remember.
Stadium.
I have a vague memory of the goal, not much of one, but you probably have quite a you
Kind
remember.
of blooped a backhand over Tony
That's yeah.
Esposito's shoulder and into the top corner. He sort of got half wood on it, and Esposito had to wave at it with a stick hand because, of course, he's a left-handed
Yeah.
goalie.
That's what I
But
remember of it not being a great goal.
it
Yeah.
was, yeah, I mean, they took the puck to the net, and a good thing happened. That's the game sometimes, as you well know.
So Bruce, the Oilers won this one in the shootout. They won it. It was 4-3. Um, the Devils outchanced the Oilers in grade A chances 16-9. And Bruce, I have to, and I wrote this at the Cult of Hockey blog. To me, this had all the makings of guaranteed loss night for the Edmonton
Yep.
Oilers. They're playing against the team that it was a weak team on back to back on the second night of a back to back game for that weak team, like with a prominent ex-Oiler player on it. Like it had all the ingredients of a game the Oilers in the last 2 years. And I didn't count them up, but it had all the ingredients of a game the Oilers would have lost in the last 2 years. And it sure looked like they were doing their damnedest to make it another year in a row with that trend continuing tonight because the Devils really were desperate. You can see why they lose games like this because the other team is so desperate,
Yeah,
and the Oilers aren't. They're not that good. Like
right.
they're a good team, but they're not a. You're not a like
Oh,
the margin isn't great between most NHL teams. So
the league is so close, and I mean, I heard people this morning saying, "Well, this is a game the Oilers should win because they're
oh,
they're streaking and the Devils are slumping." And my thought is that uh, the league is so close that often the little tiny margin in a given game is between the desperation, the absolute need of one team to win it over another that's maybe slightly um, fat and sassy, and the Devils were desperate. I thought the Devils played a great game tonight. Full marks of them. They were flying the whole game. They were making stuff
yeah.
happen. They were shutting things down. Edmonton had 2 shots in first 18 minutes of the third period. Like they were really having trouble getting through, and they they were lucky and good to somehow manage to pull off the tying goal. A little McDavid magic, draw the penalty, win the face-off, score the goal, tie it up. But
Yeah, that was they were outchanced. It was 5-1 in the third, 5-1, and the
yeah.
Devils they were just so hungry to win that game, and they were missing Andy Green, who was
Hmm.
they're probably their best defenseman. So Bruce, this is our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. Let's start it off with your good thing.
Well, my good thing has to be the first Edmonton goal, which was an absolute thing of beauty from the time that New Jersey actually had possession of the puck behind Edmonton's goal line to the puck winding up in the New Jersey net about 10 seconds later. And it started off with three good plays in a row by Ethan Bear. First of all, muscling his man off the puck and taking it off him, then making a good move behind the net to beat a man to come out the other side of the net, and then to make an absolutely gorgeous 10-foot pass right through guys, I think between his legs, and hit McDavid on dead fly, sticking out of his own zone. The kind of pass that Oiler fans are aching to see McDavid receive 10 times a game. Anyway, this one, and McDavid took it down, and from there it was bingo, bango, bongo, four-way passing play. I mean, all five Oilers were involved in the goal, which included a rushing defenseman joining the play. So one defenseman started the play with a good defensive play and breakout pass, and the other one joined the rush and basically made the goal happen by being the joiner between the two passes across the slot, including, Nurse making the actual pass that Draisaitl buried. And really, it was close to perfect hockey for those few seconds.
It was an old-time 80s Oilers goal.
It was an Oilers goal.
And we're starting to see that with regularity from this group of players. They are really connecting, including on the power play. It's pretty amazing to watch. So Bruce, my good thing is the unsung heroes of the team. So of course the game was won by Draisaitl in overtime and Koskinen in overtime. But McDavid scored, Draisaitl scored in regulation time. Nuge whipped one in that Neil got his stick on. So it's all the big players, the well-paid players who drove the scoring tonight. But this was a team effort, and I just going to quickly go down and just say each contribution. So Chris Russell, I just thought was super solid as a rock on defense most of the night. Joachim Nygaard was flying out there to the extent that I thought he should have been out in overtime instead of James Neal. Jujhar Khaira, that whole line with Riley Sheehan and Patrick Russell looks like a third line. They're getting offensive zone time, which is, I mean, how rare is that for an Oilers line other than the top line to get offensive zone time on a regular basis? Joel Persson, I thought, had his best game easily as an Oiler. He's finally decided he's going to play his A game. If he's not going to make it, he's at least going to play his A game, trying. And we saw him moving his feet, skating with the puck. He had a few struggles moving the puck at times, but that's going to happen to any defenseman. So I mentioned Patrick Russell. Marcus Granlund actually got a breakaway. He's still a little bit underwhelming. Matt Benning was solid enough. Gaetan Haas was fast when he got out there. I didn't think Yurcho had his best game. But most of all, Mikko Koskinen, who has been, let's face it, we all have a pretty iffy opinion of him right now. And of course, on the first goal, he got beat high glove hand, although it was an absolutely perfect shot on a 2-on-1. So I didn't blame him on that one. But Koskinen was fantastic, Bruce. He made a ton of great saves as the game went along.
Loved his game tonight.
Yeah,
even with the 3 goals against.
Yeah. So that's my good thing, and I thought all those players came to, they each did their little bit enough for the Oilers to stay in the game and win the game in the end. What is your bad thing?
I'm going to let you go first this time, David. I'm still cogitating that.
Okay, my bad. I'm
happy with the 2 points. So bad thing.
My bad thing is I'm ecstatic. I would have been happy with 1 point. By the end of the game. When they managed to tie it up, they had just been so outplayed in the third period. I'm just sitting there, okay, 1 point, get to overtime, get 1 point. And then when they get 2, it's like, whoa, geez, that's just fantastic 4-0. All right, there's 2 plays by Leon Draisaitl that were my bad thing. And the third Devils goal, Louis DeBrusk mentioned on the play-by-play that it all started with someone or Oilers players being outside the zone, and PK Subban recognizing that and rushing in, pinching, keeping the puck in. It was actually just one player, and it was Leon Draisaitl, who had blown the zone, wasn't on the wing, he was playing up there, and because of him, they got that third goal. He was the main culprit. There was another play in the early in the second period where he had been on the ice already. They've been up and down the ice, and then they've been in the Oilers zone for 30 seconds or so, and he had been on the ice 70 seconds, and which in the NHL, those guys, they just be, even the most fit guy has got to be gassed after 70 seconds. So he finally got the puck out, and he gets it over the red line, and all he had to do was dump it in, get off the ice, and he decides he's going to carry it in one more time. He turned over the puck, and the Devils got 2 scoring chances. Very good scoring chances because of that. So Leon has got to, he is such a fantastic, fan-credible player, I was going to say. He is such a fan-credible player.
I
Yeah,
like it.
fantastic. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? So he is so fine, but he's got to think of the risk reward a little bit better now and then. And that's as he gets to be. If the Oilers are going to win, Bruce, this has got to happen because we both know how many goals in the second half of the year Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl were on the ice for. A whole crap ton of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, Leon also delivered at least two that come to mind. Absolutely superb defensive stops in this game, and he
yeah,
does have
yeah,
two-way game.
he does.
And he does have the ability to turn the play north, but he does make mistakes, and he gambles and loses sometimes with either dangerous passes through the slot or uh, as you say here, blowing the zone or maybe trying to beat a guy at the blue line once in a while. So you take the bad with the good with this player. All he did was, win the game for Edmonton in the shootout, and win first star. He won first star honors in the arena, and the stars chosen in the arena, uh, and lead the team in shots and so on, and face-off percentage. And there are going to be, when you play a guy 25 minutes, as they did yet again tonight, third time in 4 games, mistakes are going to happen. That one was costly at a bad time, and no arguing that it belongs on the bad thing list.
Okay, what is your bad thing, Bruce? Have you figured out?
Uh,
You have one?
I guess how much time, part of the game I spent being worried about this player or that being banged up, right? Klefbom took a shoulder cap right in the chops, and it looked like it could be a
That should have
concussion.
been a penalty.
And Cassian twisted his ankle, it looked like, and Draisaitl got hacked on the wrist one time, and I think he got chopped in the head another time, and it was just, realizing 82 games is an awfully long time, and you've got to sort of come out the other side of those knocks time and again. And New Jersey really took their pound of flesh tonight. Like I say, they played hard, and they played a very intense game for a team that lost in a different city last night. They brought a pretty good game back home to New Jersey, and they were giving him that guy Miles Wood. He was Wood's a good name for him. He was, well, maybe they should call him Miles Composite, but he sure puts the lumber onto opponents, and he got a couple of Oilers with loose sticks tonight. Anyway, so it's not really a bad thing because I don't. All these guys came back to play, and hopefully it's not
Yeah.
something where tomorrow they'll say Cassian's in a walking boot, or let's just hope that nothing like that happens. But that was the worrisome thing.
Cassian sure nailed Palmieri with that hit. Ooh, that was a wicked hit. Bruce, it was one of those games where the aggressive team got away with a lot of penalties, honestly, from the refs could have called a lot of interference and holding in different plays, I thought, on the Devils, but because they were so aggressive and going for it, and maybe they're, I don't know, the refs know how bad that franchise needs to win. I just thought they'd let them get away with stuff until the last minute there when McDavid
Yeah,
got
well,
the penalty.
Draisaitl drew the one penalty that they got the first power play goal, and then McDavid drew the critical one at the end. So the big boys were delivering more than just points. They were drawing the fouls and setting things up, setting the
What's your
table.
number? What's your number,
My
Bruce?
number is 22-13, which might be 22-14 because of a 1 second disagreement. Ethan Bear, 5-on-5, most ice time on the Oilers. 5-on-5 in this game.
Wow.
Ethan Bear, youngest player on the team, only rookie on the team, and they played the hell out of him. And he didn't play the most even strength time because he didn't get on the ice in overtime. So some of the stuff that shows up in the event summary includes 3-on-3. But Bear was a beast and lots of good things. I had a little bit of some troubles. He's still working on defensive things, but unlike 2 years ago when he was called up before he was ready, I'm seeing a lot more good with the bad, and I think it's been a net positive for Ethan Bear, 4 games running now, and he's looking like a player, David.
He is, Bruce, and this is the kind of thing, like, in the decade of darkness, we've looked longingly at other franchises and seen them call up players who are about 22, 23, been in the minors a couple of years, and those players just step in the lineup. You've never heard of them before, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden, like, who is that guy? He's like playing top 4 minutes and he's crushing it. Like Nashville comes to mind of constantly kind of running through these players, and the Oilers never had that guy. But The Oilers farm team last year was damn good. And it looked like there was 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 guys on that team who would have a chance to really compete for an NHL job. And it's Bear and Russell who have taken the step
Patrick
up.
Russell, who would have
But
guessed?
it could have been, you did, but it could have been Gambardella and Jones. It could have just as easily been 2 other guys, because there's lots of good players in Bakersfield. So this is credit to Peter Chiarelli, and I know that he got a lot of things wrong, but he got one thing right. He got drafting and development right. And the farm team that's developed in Bakersfield is largely his doing, Keith Gretzky and Bob Green. And they did a pretty good job. Enough of a good job that I was questioning this summer, bringing in Todd Wright to be a key part of that, because it wasn't apparent to me necessarily that anything was going wrong with what was happening in player procurement and developing that farm system. But yeah, fantastic to see.
The other good decision that Chiarelli made was not canning outright Jay Woodcroft when they let go all of the assistant coaches, but sending him down to the minors and letting him run his own bench and sort of shifting things up for him and giving him a shot at a different job. I liked that move then, and I've seen nothing since that's made me think they did anything but the best possible alternative.
He sure has developed a lot of hockey players down there, hasn't he? Last year, they're off to a good start. Off to a good start this year, and even more talent on the team this year, even without Ethan Bear. There's actually more talent on that team.
Even without Patrick Russell.
Even without Patrick Russell. Yeah. The Fernando Pisani of the AHL.
Well, yeah, what I meant earlier was, who would have guessed those two? If you had to get a Quinella and said you're going to pick 2 players from Bakersfield last year, they're going to make the Oilers to start the season. Would you have guessed Bear and Russell both?
I would have guessed Caleb Jones and a forward. I would have guessed Tyler Benson. I thought Benson was ready. I would have guessed those 2. But so there you go. And Jones and Russell and Bear would have been down my list. I would have thought Russell had an outside chance. And you know what, Bruce? Ever since they added Patrick Russell to that third line with Sheahan and Kerr, seems to be the difference on that line. He seems to have that bit of grit and smarts and just getting in there. He's going to be hard to get out of the lineup, because he had another really good game. Good for Patrick Russell. He's playing. He's such a hard player.
I've never seen him bad. I've never seen him bad. I've watched him play in Bakersfield. I watched him play for Denmark. It doesn't score a million points or anything, but he's solid every game. I'm sure he has us down nice, but I haven't seen him.
Well, when he first got to Bakersfield, I didn't think he'd be an NHL player. I didn't think he'd actually be that close to an NHL player. Let me just look up what he did in that first year.
He's improved every year.
But you can see 2 things that he did have. He had speed. He had some speed, and he had a willingness to hit and work. So his first year in Bakersfield, he had 68 games and 17 points. And he wasn't young then either. He was
23 then, and then
so good for that guy.
And then his second year, he jumped to 30 odd points, and then last 27.
year,
27, and then last year to 40 in 52 games, I think it was. He played part of the year up here, so solid improvement from year to year. And now we're seeing him as he's a role player, but you got to have role players, and you got to have good role players, and he's trending well. He's doing a lot of penalty killing for the Oilers. Patrick Russell is on the first unit penalty kill, and Riley Sheahan led the team in ice time, shorthanded ice time tonight. But I'm pretty sure that Russell was next in line among forwards.
Yeah, I was dubious about Sheahan in preseason, but he's had a couple strong games, so good for him. That whole line, good for them. I was dubious about that whole line for a while, but they're cycling the puck and playing well together, and they're working their butts off. So
I'm rooting hard for Riley Sheahan, kind of selfish reasons. He's the one guy, a free agent, that I wrote about all summer and said, this would be a guy that could help the Oilers. So I really hope he helps the Oilers.
So you can have bragging rights. That's important for us.
Well, they did pick the player, but ideally you want them not only to get your guy, but have him actually help the team. So that's the part that's still to be determined. Anyway, I'm rooting for him, and I'm rooting for anybody who dresses in blue and orange anyway. So it's
me too.
So it is.
So Bruce, my numbers are 2 and 5. 25, Darnell Nurse's numbers. They refer to his hits in the game, which was 5. and his major contributions at even strength to grade A chances, which was 2. It's pretty rare. It's not easy for a defenseman to get major contribution. Like, you're setting up a guy in the slot essentially, or making a stretch pass or a key pass to set up a grade A scoring chance plays. It doesn't happen for defensemen very often. So to have 2 in one game is pretty good. And Darnell Nurse,
one was a goal.
He was
Set up a
flying.
goal.
He was flying out there. One was the goal. The assist.
The other one was the play where he stole the puck off the guy inside the blue line and whipped a breakaway pass to Granlund, eh?
Yeah. Let me just have a look. There's 6.
Had to be.
Yeah.
Had to be. That was a great play.
My rather elaborate coding this year on our scoring chance.
I'm confused too.
25 FPST. So 25 4 pass stretch.
Stretch
Yeah.
pass.
So
that was a beauty play by Nurse.
Wasn't it? He shut the play down. Bruce, they're using him in the right way as an attacking defenseman. I just love. Excuse me, you're gonna have to take over talking here. I got a little bit of cough.
Yeah, he's got a two-way game. I wouldn't refer to him as a shutdown defenseman. He's a roamer and a rover, and he makes stuff happen out there. And you got to let him freewheel a little bit, because that's really his game. And it seems like I'm puzzled by how many detractors the guy has, and how many people think, well, we should just trade him for something else. But his game, to me, is still emerging, and that next contract is that's going to be a critical detail for Mr. Holland to take care of, and we'll see where it goes. But for now, I mean, at $3.2 million for this year, Nurse may well be the biggest bargain contract on the team.
Oh yeah, I guess you could factor in Ethan Bear, but you kind of expect that on entry level deals. So, yeah, he's not. He was miscast, and I think if he's cast again with Adam Larsson, that's not going to work. I think Darnell Nurse isn't a strong enough passer of the puck, making these little intricate passes in his own zone, quick passes. Like, he's great with the puck on his stick. He's great, like, in the bold moment where he streaks up the ice or rushes in to break up a play. But he needs to work with someone, I think, in the end, who's a better passer than he is, has a higher hockey IQ, sees the ice better, and that's Ethan Bear. It could be Persson, but I don't think it is Larsson. I don't think that's a very good match in the end. I think the shut could be Evan Bouchard. I'd like to see Larsson and Russell kind of in the as a shutdown role. A very kind of expensive third pairing if that's how you see them, but I don't see them that way. I would see them as kind of heavy minutes, tough minutes, kind of two guys doing that. So maybe we'll see that down the road when Larsson comes back. Alrighty. Any other thoughts, Bruce? Or
4-0, man. I mean, they were down. They were trailed 3 times in this game. Each period they gave up a goal and they fought back to tie the score before the buzzer.
Amazing.
It was late in the second, late in the third, drew the penalties, produced on the power play. And that tying goal, I was slightly worried that the ref had blown the play dead because he'd lost the fact that the goalie didn't have the puck covered. But they said they called it a goal on the ice, and McDavid certainly got to it before Blackwood did, so it should have been a goal.
They said they called it a goal on the ice?
They called it a goal, and they couldn't overturn it. That's what they said. When they went to view the replay, they said the call on the ice was a good goal. We'll review it. And I was going, geez, I thought I heard the whistle go, but hey. Anyway, that was the sort of call that would have gone against the Oilers. You know it. So many times we'd be sitting here and you and I'd be bitching and whining about that stupid call that cost us the chance to tie and win it in the shootout, and we'd be talking about the what ifs and the never weres, and instead, hey, the goal stands and they survived. They got 1 point, and then they hung on through the shootout. And thanks to Koskinen and a couple of goal posts, they were able to pull out the second one. And all's well that ends well. 4-0.
My final thought, Bruce, is about James Neal. 7 goals.
Already.
As many as he had all last year. More than Milan Lucic had all last year. So, wow.
Yeah, he matched his last year's goal point by October 10th, and there he is leading the entire National Hockey League in goals. Like, that's hilarious. I don't care what date it is. The fact that he ever got to this point after that trade, it's just if this is the pinnacle, let's enjoy the view before the inevitable
Yeah.
happens next. But
I don't want to see him in overtime again. As much as I love his power playing, 3-on-3 is not. He had that rush up the ice. He didn't know what to do with it. It kind of throw it high into the other team's end and try to chase after it. They got to have. I would have Nygaard out there. I think Haas would be a really good player, support player. I know they use Kajula sometimes in overtime, and I think Haas would be every bit as good as Drake Kajula. So that's what.
Way better without the puck.
He sure is, isn't he? Yeah. All right. Let's leave it there, Bruce. Thanks for talking.
Saturday morning, New York Rangers at Madison Square Gardens, 11 a.m. for people that haven't quite clued into that yet. Set your PVR or your personal schedule to see if they can go for 5.
Thanks for the reminder for me and everybody else. There's at least 20% of the people watching this, listening to this, would have missed that, and would have either maybe some of them would have missed the game completely. Although you can now watch things more easily on replay on TV. So
hopefully they hung in till the end of the podcast, David?
For sure they did, Bruce. We got the wisest fans in the world, man. They want every nugget of our whatever it is.
Yeah.
Thanks for talking, Bruce.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.